Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sci-Fi Chronicles. And today we're going to be talking about a film that's special to me, which is Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones. So buckle up. This one's going to be a lot of fun. You know, we've got the specialists in to talk about it, and again, I always say they're always legends. And first of all, we've got the mega geek Ian Diaz. How you doing,
Hello.
mate? You all right?
Hello. Yeah. I'm fine.
And then we've also got the retro doc Gary Akers. No time for love.
That's right. I'm only here, everybody, because John promised that after the stream we would have some chilled monkey brains for
right, okay. An eyeball soup. There you go.
And sneak surprise.
Yeah, excellent.
And also with us as well is the starry-eyed girl, Sarah. Sarah, how you doing? Or Willie, as she's called today.
Yes, I'm going to channel. I can't scream as good as her though, which is probably a good thing. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah. So I mean, starting off, first of all, Ian, what are your thoughts on Temple of Doom?
I think Temple of Doom is right. So out of the three, and let me tell you something, there's only been three.
Yeah. Let's cover that one off early.
Right. So this one is just as good as the other two, in my opinion, just as good. Obviously, Raiders is the top one because the reason why it's the top one is because it was so unexpected when we went to cinema to see that film. Totally unexpected, gave you what you wanted. Brilliant, totally brilliant film. I admire Temple of Doom for two reasons. One is because they didn't try to copy the first one.
Yeah.
And second was that they tried to do things that you would never expect. Like they literally gave you horror in a family film. That's what they did, right? Today would never be allowed with the Indian relations and stuff like that.
Right.
But they would, and a lot of people don't know this, but a film called Gunga Din. It was like a 40s movie. Is very close. The story's very close to Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. Very close. They even have the thuggies and everything. And I think, So I guess George Lucas and Spielberg was trying to channel their Gunga Din movie into Temple of Doom. I love Temple of Doom. I went to see it 20 times in the cinema. Would you believe?
I do believe that.
Going back in.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't that. It was so basically when it came out, I was still in secondary school, and there was a cinema which is 20 minutes away from my school, and it only used to cost 50p. So after school, the next screening was, I think it was at 4 o'clock. So we finished at 3:30, wait for half an hour, go into the cinema and watch it. So I was watching it like every day. The reason why I watched it every day, because I had such a blast watching it the first time round. And every time I watched it, I still had the same blast. I love the mine car chase. I love the action. I love Short Round at that time. I wished I was Short Round. Didn't really like Willie that much, but but I just thought it was a great movie. And I remember every time I watched it, there was always someone different sitting next to me. And I remember this old couple, before it started, they said to me, have you seen this film? And I said, yes. And they said, oh, is it any good? And I said, yeah, it's really good. And they said, is this the second time you watch it? I said, no, this is like the 19th time I'm watching it. So they were really surprised. But I mean, I can go on forever, but I just love this film. I think it's a great movie.
He only paid for it once. He snuck in the other 19.
No, I didn't. It actually, the cinema was owned by Indian people, and at the time it was in Balam, so it was a very heavy Indian population in Balam. So yeah, I mean, you couldn't sneak in there because they had every door blocked, basically.
You know what? There's an old cinema seat somewhere, and it's literally got Ian's imprint built.
That's right. Well, the cinema is a wine store now, so it got closed down. Yeah,
which is where he got what he's. That's right.
If you go in the wine store, you'll see one of them blue plaques.
Yeah.
But
Gary, what do you think about this one?
Well, boy, you know, I rewatched it again yesterday, and this is the first time in I can't even say how many years that I've seen it. And I don't remember how many times I saw it when it was originally out, maybe a couple of times. And it's really interesting because it was almost as if I was just kind of, you know, seeing it brand new after having watched Raiders again a couple of weeks ago. And great things about it. I thought Short Round was great. To me, that he was the best character in the movie. Great young actor. The relationship with Indy was great. I thought, for example, like the temple set was absolutely fantastic. It's kind of interesting. You kind of have to reset yourself after Raiders to kind of get your mind around the kind of darkness of the plot, which is, and as Ian has said, there is some horrible, I mean, not horrible, horrific things in this one. And to me, though, when I'm thinking about, you know, the whole Indiana Jones, you know, package, it just seems to me that, just personal opinion, that Indiana Jones Adventures should feel like there's like epic stakes, like he's looking for like the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail or Atlantis or something like that. They did in one of the comic series, he was like looking for Atlantis. And it seems like this, in terms of like the stakes, it's like, yeah, I know he gets around to having to rescue the kids, but this feels like, for example, like an A-level Indiana Jones movie, like, you know, Raiders and even like Lost Crusade, where he's fighting for these, you know, mythical stakes against the Nazis. To me, that's equivalent to like an A-level Bond movie, like Goldfinger or Spy Who Loved Me, something like that. And this one, maybe because I just didn't get the sense that there was that kind of heightened like world at stake kind of thing. This to me was kind of like the equivalent of kind of like a B-level Bond movie, like Man with the Golden Gun or Diamonds Are Forever, something like that, to where, you know, it's not like I said, you have to rescue the kids, but overall, you know, because it's like throughout the movie, I was trying to wonder, well, are the stones just that you're looking for, are they just symbolic for the village, or do they have real power or something? And that's kind of revealed later on. But I was just kind of thinking, like in the other movies, like right at the beginning, you know exactly what the stakes are, you know, from the get-go. And this just feel, like I said, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I really enjoy, but I guess just for me, it was kind of missing those things to kind of elevate it to the level of the other ones.
I think I think it doesn't help because it was released second. I know it's meant to be a prequel, but if it had come first, you could see that it's Indiana Jones building up to the big mythical quest. So I do understand, you know, after Raiders, how it does feel like it's almost like a little step back.
Yeah.
See, I never had any of those problems because this was the first Indiana Jones film I ever watched. I think I said on the last stream.
Right, I'm coming off.
It's the first one I was exposed to. So in the timeline, you know, it all kind of fit. You know, it works. You know, I saw them in the order they were intended to be. Yeah, like Ian said, I love it because it's so experimental. It's like the grossest thing I think I'd ever seen up until that point. But yeah, I know it's such a horrible movie, like the tone and everything that's going off, but it brings me so much joy. And again, it's because I watch this in the Christmas holidays every year. I know it's weird, but I always Christmas, Easter, and bank holidays. It was always on. Indiana Jones, just like James Bond. And you know, Italian Job and The Great Escape and all these kind of brilliant movies, they were always on in the holidays. So I've got such an association with my childhood, these events, and just enjoying these films as a family.
Great.
Do you know it just goes to prove what Gary said, that Temple of Doom is misunderstood.
Yeah.
And I tell you why it's misunderstood, right? So the reason why it's a prequel, and this is not official, is because we wanted to see Indiana Jones's growth. So when you're introduced to Indiana Jones, he's basically a grave robber, and he's basically about the money. So when you see the first, when you see the first scene,
that's true.
So when you see the first scene where he talks to Loud, and he has the the remains and stuff like that, he's after the diamond, so that's money.
You know,
right?
I didn't think about that, Ian. You're exactly right.
So basically, and towards the end of the film, Indiana Jones realized that it's not about fortune and glory; it's about doing what's right.
Yeah,
And that's why he rescues the kids. And therefore, when you see Raiders of the Lost Ark, he's a completely different person.
All right.
He's all about the getting the prize, taking it to the museum and honoring it.
Right.
So he changed in Temple of Doom. He literally changed as a character.
That's why he says, I didn't understand the power.
Yeah, exactly. At the end.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a very good point.
You know what?
Because what you said, Ian,
you convince me. Yeah.
What you said there, Ian, is absolutely right. Because if you look at it, when you watch Raiders and you've got Belloc in Raiders, they are very, very similar. But we talked about in Raiders the fact that Indy's further along, where he respects. Yeah, he has a respect for what they're going after, whereas Belloc isn't. He's literally after the glory, isn't he? Belloc is downfall.
Yeah, Belloc is Indiana Jones in Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
Oh, okay.
So that's the thing. This is the reason why a lot of people misjudge Temple of Doom, and it's for reasons that they can't see. Like they never see that. Obviously, they played that joke with the gun, which shouldn't even been in the film, because obviously that would never have happened, because he was meant to have done that afterwards, right? So, but that was just a joke, right? But if you look at the film very carefully, George Lucas admitted that he did this film and he wanted it to be dark because he was going through divorce and stuff like that and all that. And I don't know how true that is, but if you look at the character very carefully, Indiana Jones grows. Yeah. He grows. He doesn't care about Willie Scott in the beginning at all. He ends up caring about
she's only there. She's only there by accident. Short Round is the actual companion.
Yeah, the only person he does care about out of the whole thing is Short Round. And you've got to, I mean, the reason why I like this film so much is because it takes something that doesn't make any sense. It throws out the window. Well, throws out the window. Like, why would he team up with a 12-year-old kid? Why would a 12-year-old kid be driving the car?
Well, and you know,
fantasy elements, right? I love the fantasy elements.
It really is interesting because who's his kind of partner that gets killed.
The Chinese detective.
I go first, Indy.
And he says we've been through a lot of adventures before, so clearly they have a history. But that character has no problem with pulling a gun. So it's interesting. But you're right. I never thought about that.
He changes. But also, I love the beginning sequence. I mean, it's so different to the beginning of Raiders Lost Ark, and the tribute they played to James Bond was absolutely fantastic. So, if you know the tribute with the suit, so basically the suit that Indiana Jones is wearing is the same suit that Sean Connery wears in.
Is it really?
In Goldfinger? With the rose and everything. So.
Brilliant.
I do want to really quickly say about that opening number, because I'm a big fan of the old time Hollywood musicals, the 30s and 40s and stuff. And they used to do, so this is a trope in some of those movies that they're in so many of those old Hollywood movies like take place in a nightclub. But yet at one point it kicks into a dance number that you would literally need like an airplane hangar to do. And then it cuts to the end, and like in this one where Willie's coming off stage and it looks like the stage is the size of like a high school stage. It's like, wait a minute. No, where did you just stage that huge number 2 minutes ago?
All right, so that's I think what Spielberg and what they were trying to do was trying to show that was the fantasy element, and it was in Willie Scott's head. That's what they were trying to show. So Willie Scott was just singing the song, but she imagined she was in this Broadway. She wants to be
it was like trying to show like it's her ambitions and this is
I mean, if I would have been, it's clear to me now that if I had been watching this movie with like the Ian David Diaz commentary going on, I would have a different experience of it.
Yeah.
I love that beginning, and I'm always amused by this like army of Raiders of the Lost Ark fans queuing to see this film, sat there, and it begins like that. You must have been completely blindsided. Like, well, what a brilliant!
I wasn't. I remember the first. Was you, John?
No, I mean, I remember as a kid, I was just excited when it started, and I was similar to you, Ian. I thought, oh, this is different. But what I loved about it, I mean, my view on it, I love this film, I really do, and I'm the same as Ian. There's only 3 Indiana Jones movies, and I would say it's Raiders, Last Crusade, then this one in my ranking. But I love how, again, this film, it literally starts from the word go. We're off in it, and that whole scene with and it all kicks off there. I love it when he's trying to find the antidote. And all the fighting's breaking loose. But as a kid, and I still laugh now, and people will go, oh, that's not acceptable now. I love it where he does the scene, and Spielberg films it, where he punches the waitress in the face.
You do that these days.
But the thing about that scene is that it was, as a kid, it was forbidden fruit, but it was disguised. So basically Spielberg loves doing that. He loves giving you something for the family and chucking in something really horrific. Like Sam Raimi does that as well, would you believe? So with this one, right, if you think too much about it, it is quite horrific. Indiana Jones takes a big spear with chicken on it and throws it, and the guy kills the guy. You're like, what?
As a kid, that's just like, oh my God, that's so cool.
What I'm saying,
And I had to rewind that a couple times, because I thought, wait a minute. So he skewers the guy, and then the guy's gun goes off, and then it cuts to Willie saying there, and I go, wait a minute, and I watched it again. Where that guy, where Willie was in relation to that guy standing, when his gun went off, it would have hit her.
What bit are you talking about there?
So he skewers the guy, and the guy's gun automatically goes off.
But he aims at the floor.
Oh, that's the floor.
Yeah, he aims at the floor.
One thing I did notice is that instead of a big rolling boulder this time, we had the rolling gong.
But also, what's interesting to me is that it just goes to show how evil Lao Chi is. His son got killed. His other son got killed, and yet he's like standing there, seeing the airplane go off. Goodbye, Dr. Chan. He's goodbye, Dr.
And I love how when Indy goes out the window of Willie, and he goes into the car, and it's Club Obi-Wan.
I
always love that as well.
But the thing is, you can tell it was played for laughs. I mean, smashing through the window and falling through those things and surviving, and also off the plane as well, which I think is the worst bit of the whole film, when he jumps out the plane with the thing, and there's no need for that at all. But,
all I was thinking about, during that scene is, those poor chickens. Boy, Indy, leaving those poor chickens to crash against the mountain.
I like how they didn't repair the bad visual effect when the plane smashes into the mountain. I mean, you can tell that's you can see the actual film moving up and down compared to the model in the background. But I'm a big advocate of actually not changing films now. Just leave it the way it is for the beauty of it. So every copy I've seen so far just keeps it.
And I love the cameo at the beginning as they're getting on the plane with Dan Aykroyd.
I never spotted it the first time. It took me a couple of...
Uncredited.
They're all there, aren't they?
Yeah.
George was there, Stephen's there, I think Kathleen's there. They're all extras.
I guess. I mean, I heard, John, did I hear somewhere they said that Dan Aykroyd just wanted to be in, he says, you don't even have to credit me, I just want to be in. And that's why all of his shots are long shots. You recognize his voice, but the camera's never close up.
And all, Ian, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, but for me as a kid, and I'm still the same today, and is Short Round. The moment you see him, you instantly fall in love with this character because he's brilliant. And I love the bit where, you got the guy carrying the two people, you know, he's running along and he goes, okay, you asked for it, and he just drives into it and the guy's up in the air. It's
But
just,
I mean, that's the enjoyment as a kid.
Yeah.
You'd love that stuff. Also, a lot of people don't realize that because of that film, Key became a stunt coordinator because of that film. He was so when he was doing the kung fu at the end in the climax sequence, he was learning off the stunt guy that was teaching it, and he got so fascinated by it, he became a stunt coordinator. And a lot of people don't know this, but he was one of the stunt coordinators in the X-Men movie. He actually had to teach what's his name, Hugh Jackman, to do certain things. So there you go.
No, I was thinking that no wonder I was watching this movie and I thought no wonder that Ke Kwan was cast in Goonies, because he was absolutely the star of this one. And I was also just thinking how great, you know, all the 80s sci-fi fantasy movies were. The 80s was like the quintessential decade for movies like this and for fantasy movies and stuff.
I mean, when you talk about, I was just going to say, when you talk about movies and you say about 80s movies and like 70s movies for me as well, and 60s, I go back to them so many times throughout my lifetime, but I would say that the movies now, I very rarely go back to a lot of them, because this is just, this film in particular is just pure escapism for me. I know people always laugh about it, like you said, Ian, about the bit where they come out the plane with the boat, you know, but that's all escapism. I can go past that because I'm enjoying myself so much with this film,
and it's so well directed as well. And there's also got loads of iconic moments in there. The bit with the hat where he pulls his hat out before the doors, the thing closes. The what other iconic moments? I just love that scene where he's like, Willie, we are gonna die. Like,
oh yeah, the fist comes through. He goes, not here. Go over there. Go over there.
It's so genius. And I also love the fact where, like that scene you're on about, Ian, where Willie comes in and she hits the bottom of her backside because she's coming in going, they're all over me, and he's like looking like, crying out.
That was the creepiest. I don't know about all of you. That was the creepiest. I mean, I just started going, ugh, you know, during that bugs thing.
It's even worse when, you know, they were all real bugs going.
Including the one that crawled up her neck. Oh, no way.
But she had to take a lot of drink before she did that scene, apparently.
She was proper traumatized, bless her.
Yeah, she was,
I mean, let's also talk about, you know, so you have that scene with the boat, it goes down, and then obviously they land in the water, and then they pass out for a bit, and then they get to the village. And I like it. It's all setting up for what's to come, but I do love it where Indy's telling her to eat the food.
Oh yeah, with the fly.
And then Short Round is like, eat it.
But you know, it's so well directed, right? So I'll give you an example of how well directed it is. Okay, so how do you get information about what's happening as quickly and as fast as possible? So Spielberg decided that what he would do was, because it wasn't in the script, he would get the Indian guy to explain what's going on, what happened to his children, and he'd get Indiana Jones to be the medium between us, the audience, and what's happening. So the Indian guy would say in his own language what's happening, and Indiana Jones will be interpreted it for Willie Scott. So that's the fastest way to explain what's going on, and it was done very, very well. So that's just one part of Spielberg's genius, as far as I'm concerned.
And it feels natural. It never feels like an info dump, even though that's what the scene was there for. But it just flows really naturally.
And it's like when the boy finds his way back. He's escaped, and he finds his way back, and Indy catches him, and he's got the tapestry there that shows about the Shankara stones and Shiva on there, which is brilliantly done. But another iconic moment as well, and you know, this is me and why I love sort of Spielberg films as well. I love it when Short Round comes up to him and they're on top of the hilltop,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you've got the stars in the background, and
Yeah.
you know, they're talking about it, and then I love the shooting
Shooting
star
star,
going
yeah,
past.
that was
Yeah,
great.
it's really well done.
Fortune and glory.
Yeah, 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 and then
Fortune
we
and
get
glory.
to the elephants, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
So-
But how Key got that part was that his brother was up for it, and Key was just accompanying him to the audition, and then Spielberg saw him and called him in. And the thing that got him the part was the card scene. You know, Dr. Jones, you cheat. You know, that they did that in front of Spielberg, and Spielberg was like, "This is the kid." Do you know what I mean? You know, this is the kid. So and that's how we got the part. So.
Well,
So there you go.
isn't that amazing, Ian? How the best person for the role got the part?
Yes,
Yeah.
fancy that.
The good old days.
And I do love, you know, when you talk about, you know, you were saying before, Ian, we talked about it, like there's family horror in this, but there's also the comedy element of it.
Yeah.
And you go from that comedy element where they're camped out in the jungle, and he's like you say, that card scene is brilliant. They work so well together, but then she's like, "Oh, there's loads of things alive in here. That's why they call it the jungle, sweetheart." You know, and you have that, which is great fun. But then within a couple of minutes, you go to that scene where they get the statue and there's fingers on the statue, and you know, it's great. You know, I really do it. And they're off to Bangkok Palace.
But that's the thing. I think Spielberg realized very early on in his career that the forbidden fruit of watching a movie is the thing that attracts a lot of teenagers. Again, right? I would say that having fingers on the tree as a kid, you're just sitting there with your hand over your mouth going, "Oh, fingers," and that drags you into the movie emotionally. It connects you to the movie. So Spielberg, I mean, if you look at Jaws, I mean, Jaws is meant to be a family film, yet you saw a floating leg and a head with no eye. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So
it's the Doctor Who fact, you know, hiding behind the sofa.
Exactly.
You're scared. You've got your hand. You can't, but you need to watch. I need to see what's going on. Next, I'm invested in this.
And I really liked the, you know, when Indy tells him, "Don't come up here," because that to me was the moment when you really realized that he's the surrogate parent.
Yeah, he is. It would be really nice to see how they met in the first place, but we won't see that anymore.
Well, you know, and as the movie goes on, and I realize, well, wow, you know, Short Round is saving their lives a lot more than, you know, they're saving his. And that just begs the question, what happened to Short Round?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because you can't see him leaving Indy voluntarily. You know, I mean, I know that the films are out of order, but you know what I mean? It's like, that's a character that would never leave Indy.
You see, I agree. I'm completely in agreement with Ian that there's only 3 films, but I will say that where Disney completely screwed it up is you should have had Short Round come back.
But that was in the original script, John.
Was
it was in the original script? Yeah. So the original script. This is the rumor I heard. Original script had Short Round, Marion, and Indiana Jones for the last film, and it was loosely based on Short Round being an adult now, and he was influenced by Indiana Jones and stuff like that. That had a really decent story, and then they threw it away for the nonsense that we got because of women and power and whatever, and gender and all that nonsense. But that would have been an interesting film. I don't think they're going to cast Key in the older Short Round role. They were going to get somebody else, but it was a decent idea.
And I think you know, we talked about it when we did the Raiders one, and I want to get everyone's thoughts on it, because with this being a prequel, and I think you brought it up in Raiders, Sarah, about the fact that it's good that this is a prequel with Willie in it, because when you get to Raiders, Marion is the one he loves, you know, essentially. Marion's the one he's besotted with, even though he won't admit it. Whereas you couldn't have it a film with Willie straight after Marion, if that makes sense. So I think in the chronological timeline, I like the fact that this is set before Raiders.
Well, this again, it's Indy's journey of, you know, I hate to say it, but Willie's kind of like another notch on the bedpost. They were going for that real like Bond.
James Bond,
Bond, weren't they? There's another. Yeah, it was never going to last.
No, it wasn't.
And you can't compare, but I think Willie as a place. I will defend. I'll defend you on two accounts, because one, she didn't get the role because she was dating Steve, and he met her on this.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Right.
film,
Yeah.
Gunther
so that,
Irving.
and second, she got a lot of crap from feminists for playing this like damsel in distress character, and but that was the part.
She was written. It was written that way. Yeah.
It also, the film is set in, what is it, in the 30s?
35.
Yeah,
And it's meant to be a homage to those films. And in those films, they had screaming women that needed saving.
It was a trope as everything else, and I think she just, I mean, she was on the arm of the of Lao Chi, but she was doing well in Shanghai. She was this nightclub singer. She'd got an agency. As people like to go. When she was interviewed, a lot of people did say like, "Oh, all you do is scream, and you need to be rescued." And what about this? What about that? And she actually said, because I've read it in the interviews, she said, "Well, I thought we were doing an adventure film that were escapism. I didn't think we needed to push a message."
Good for
and
her.
I was like, "Oh my God, Kate, my respect for you has just gone up." So good on her.
Yeah, totally. And I was going to say as well, I know you said earlier, Ian, about the fact that, they shouldn't change films. They should leave them as they are. One thing I love about these films and sort of films of the time is I love the matte paintings in the background. So when you've got like Hancock Palace, I love all of that. It looks fantastic. And still today, I think, oh, that's quality. Whereas now it would just be a CGI backdrop, and it just it takes me out of it a bit.
They were meant to be shooting in India, but when the Indian authorities read the script, they said no.
What's that, Ian?
Reasons.
The agreement was that they had final say on the cut. And they were like, no, that's not going to happen.
They shot it in Sri Lanka, didn't they? In the end, to double for India. But originally the script was about the Monkey King, would you believe? Before Spielberg put the stop on that one. But the original screenwriter, Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark, he didn't want to write this because he thought it was too mean-spirited. So he said no. And then these two other characters came in and wrote the screenplay. So
I know that the writers for this one were the ones that worked with Lucas, and they wrote American Graffiti.
Yes, they did. And I think they also wrote Howard the Duck, did they?
They did. After
So
I think as well, let's talk about it. The famous scene that everyone now talks about as being racist. I didn't care about that. As a kid, and still now, I love these scenes. So I think that's great. The chilled monkey brains, and I hear people say now that this is what I mean about sometimes people overthink. Where at the time as a kid, and even now, I love the bit where he goes, "Sneak surprise," like that, and people now online, I see them go, "Yeah, but snakes they lay eggs. They don't have loads." And I was thinking, okay, that's fine. Are you really thinking that deep into Temple of Doom? Just enjoy the moment. It's good.
But have you not noticed that being, am I allowed to say this word, racist? Right, being racist has a lot to do with the color of people's skin. Right.
Yeah.
How comes they didn't say you were being the last one, the one before the last one, when we had the Russians? How come they didn't say we were being racist because of the Russians? That was the bad guys in that film. They never said that at all, did they?
No,
ever. Right. No. And what about the Germans in the first one?
Oh yeah. Well, it's always selective.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. Why? Because they're a lot darker in skin wise. That's the reason why we think that scene is racist. No, it's not racist.
I always thought it was a lot of rubbish because the actor, I'm forgetting what his name is now, but the actor who plays Molaram and the actor who played Prime Minister of President? They're really well known Indian actors, aren't they? And they wouldn't put their names to something like that because they were successful in their own right. I had Mola Ram, he was filming about 18 other films.
Yes, he
Wow.
was.
Same
Yeah.
time as
Yeah.
so he did not need the money, you know, or the
No,
Mm.
but you know,
exposure. So like, if they didn't
I
have a problem with it, you know.
I
Mm.
always find with these as well
Mm.
that with people like that, it's if you're going to sit down and watch a film and that's your primary goal, you
Mhm.
can watch any film and you're going to find a problem with it. You know, you could argue that the British officer in that scene,
Mm.
you know, is kind of played as a bit of a bumbling idiot, but I
Mm.
don't, because I'm
Mhm.
just enjoying the moment. You know, it's so good. I
Mhm.
love Short Round where they open the snake up and it's just his gum drops out of his
Yeah.
mouth onto
I know
the
it's
plate.
clear. It's clear that the tone of that whole dinner scene is comic.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
almost like an Abbott and Costello movie,
It
like
is.
where Abbott would
Right.
be serious and Costello would be going, you know, Abba, you know, with all when you see all the things because of Short Round's reaction, Willie faints and all of this, and her eyes roll and she faints. It's clearly just kind of, you know, a
Yes.
scene that's played for laughs. It's not played as a serious cultural representation.
I
of
always took it as that the people at the palace knew, and they were putting it on for the English that were
Yeah.
visiting.
oh,
So
okay.
so they were leaning in to the stereotypes as a bit of a laugh. So you can see that you know it's challenging racism. That's how I always viewed it because nobody else seems particularly bothered, do they? It's just the comedic of
It's just look. It's just
yeah.
people have got
Yeah.
nothing better to do with their
Yeah.
time. They say
It-
these
it-
things. It's just absolute nonsense. It really is. I know. Like, I had a friend. God, I can't remember his name now. He was Asian, and he used to go to the cinema to see Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom with me.
Yeah.
Oh, Loopy. His name was Loopy, and he'd loved it. Me and him would talk about it till the cows come home. You know,
Yeah.
and he was an Indian. He was an Indian
Yeah.
guy. So
Yeah.
You know what I was also thinking during that scene when they brought the little monkey heads? I thought, you know, if this movie came out today, you'd be able to go out in the lobby and buy like a $12 limited edition popcorn bucket of that monkey head. They would market the heck out of that scene.
And we would all buy it.
Yeah.
You would.
You open it up and there's the popcorn inside.
It is a good film. It is a good film, and also, right, we have to remember that at that moment in time when it was released, there really wasn't any internet. The only the only information that you get from movies that have been released is through Starlog and Starburst and these magazines.
Yeah, that's right.
And also through Entertainment USA with Jonathan King. So the first time I ever saw a clip from Temple of Doom was on that show, which was BBC Two, and that was the only gateway to America's entertainment.
Yeah.
So you know, it's incredible when I think about it.
I mean, again, you know, the nostalgia thing. I mean, that for me, no matter how many times I watch this transports me back to very happy, magical times.
Yeah.
You know,
too,
that's where my love for movies kind of this sort of era began. You know, it's because there were so many films like this being knocked out in the 80s that I just didn't get tired of it. It grew and grew and grew, and that's why I collect today. And you know, that's why I want to see fresh and new stuff where you don't see that as much now. But
everybody's scared of doing stuff though now, aren't they?
Yeah, playing it safe.
I'm curious. I don't know, John, if you were planning on bringing it up, but I'm curious what you all thought about the bedroom scenes, which to me was played like an old like Cary Grant, Howard Hawks movie where they're saying, "I'll give him 5 minutes," and it's back and forth. I thought this is like a Howard Hawks film.
Yeah, I do love that scene, and again, I love the bit where they've got all the pictures of the men on the wall, and he's hiding in the wall. And he comes up behind and starts strangling Indy.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love that whole scene's going on, and he's like being strangled, and he's like, you know, trying to get there.
It's a very well directed movie. I mean, again, right? If you know, sometimes, right, you can watch a movie and then not realize that it's been really well made. Like I remember watching AI in the cinema, which was years ago, the Spielberg film AI, and thinking, "Oh my god, this is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. It's so dull and boring." And then I watched it like beginning of this year, and I was gobsmacked, you know, how good the film was and how the way it was directed and such. Yeah, it was still long and tedious, but it was incredibly well made, you know. And I think it's through age that you realize
Just how good
that
it
things
is.
are more than what it seems. Like with
Yes.
Temple of Doom, when I saw it all as a kid, all I can see was the action and the fast moving pace and Indiana Jones beating the crap out of people. But now as an adult, I can see that Indiana Jones was growing as a person, and he goes to one point to the next. Same thing with the, as you mentioned, the scene where they're eating, it's just a joke. You know, it's not real, none of it is real. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So I don't know. Films develop in your head, don't they?
I think it does get a poor reputation. I mean, it doesn't help like the other two films are so good. But no, I agree. I think this is on par. I think you just sometimes you have to look a little bit deeper. Whereas that all people can see is, oh, it's old fashioned. Oh, it's got the colonialism stuff. It's got the racism stuff. No.
But those things existed in real life. How could it be bad if it was it's just retelling history? So what they're saying is that even though it happened in history, we're not allowed to say it now.
No, we're not allowed. We've got to
rubbish.
change it.
That's what it's like now. It's nonsense, isn't it? It really is.
Do you think it's the pulling out the heart scene which kind of puts this movie in for people?
We didn't get it
in a different estimation.
No,
we didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
I cut it out.
Wow.
The UK version, they cut it out.
Yeah.
You can see it now.
I think for me, as a kid, it kind of starts earlier than that. It kind of, for me, it was always, and I like it where Indy tells Short Round not to touch anything, and he touches it, and the two corpses come out of the wall.
Yeah.
And he's like, I do what you say. I touch nothing. Like, that was great. And then they go a bit further and they actually get into the chamber.
Yeah.
But before they actually get there, you can see the flapping skin of the people that have already been sacrificed on, you know, in the walls, aren't they? You know, in the little alcoves. And I thought that was really, really creepy for me as a kid. And then I think also as a kid, I always remember when Indy goes down and he takes the Shankara stone, and then he hears that almost like a noise, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it's again, that then is like, as a kid, I was like, oh, there's something paranormal here. It's something sinister, and it goes into that room. And then, did you all get the same as me when, like, Willie looks out and you get that jump scare? Yeah.
Oh, another thing that everybody should question is that I know the reason why Spielberg did it was because he wanted the kids to come on the adventure with Indiana Jones through Short Round. In real life, if you were going into that place, you tell Short Round to stay put.
You would,
no matter what. But yet, Short Round went with him with all those changes happening and stuff like that. As an adult, as a responsible adult, you're just like, you know what? You're staying there, mate.
You're right. Move. Now you'd have social services waiting.
But again, right? Again, this is just a fantasy, right? If somebody did that in real life, yes, you've got cause to be concerned. Right, but films cannot make you do something because you've seen it. I've seen loads of westerns. You think I'm going to go out and buy a gun and shoot people? No,
you've got to,
right? So to have this idea,
there's something wrong with the person. It's same with video games.
Exactly. To have things in films that, you know, that's just done for pure entertainment.
Yeah.
Even though for today's standards it seems wrong, is not wrong. It's a film. It's not real. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Anyway, I think it's just crazy.
No, I agree 100% on that. And
Ian, are you saying you can't pull out somebody's heart and have them still be alive? Is that
well, that's what we're doing next week on the
when you see the sacrifice, I can't. It's like the
Om Jai.
It's one of the things that has stuck with my dad. My dad's a complete arsehole. I love him to bits. He used to do it. He used to chant that, and he used to chase after us and pretend.
with the hand putting it in.
Pretend to pull out your hearts, because why not? Why would you not do that to your children?
Have you any of you ever seen the clip of Barbara Streisand on set for the filming of the bit where Indy's going to be whipped?
No,
and
No.
it's Barbara Streisand and Carrie Fisher dressed up in like scantily clad outfits. They're effectively doing like a lap dance to Harrison Ford. Have you ever seen that?
No,
I
I've
haven't-
not seen that clip at all.
Yeah,
Didn't even know that
yeah.
happened.
John,
It's
did
out
you
there.
imagine this? Is
No.
this
Did you dream
Yeah,
this?
yeah. It's amazing what you can do with AI these days. No, but it actually happened, and I think is it Lawrence Kasdan? He
Yeah.
was livid about it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, absolutely livid that this was being allowed to go on set. So
Lawrence Kasdan.
Wait a
Lawrence
minute.
Kasdan was the
Is this
writer.
during, during this movie or during Raiders?
Temple of Doom.
No. So Lawrence Kasdan wasn't the. He was the
And he
writer
wasn't
that
involved,
decided
though,
not
was
to
he?
write.
Yeah,
the script.
and
So it must be somebody else.
I think that might have been part of it, though.
No, well, no,
They had a big
Lawrence
buck
Kasdan
stop.
wasn't even. No, Lawrence Kasdan wasn't even involved in it. He didn't have a foot on set either because he refused to write something that was so mean spirited. So he went off and did something.
Yeah.
I think he did a Hunt for the Red October or some nonsense
Yeah, he
like
was
that.
writing and directing.
Yeah. So Lawrence Kasdan it must have been a producer, an associate producer, maybe Kathleen Kennedy. You know, while she's making coffee, she got a bit upset or something.
John asking me to picture Barbara Streisand in a harem girl outfit is just a little bit too far.
Do you know what?
It's
Do you know
real.
what? Right?
I just checked it.
Gary, you know what? I used to think Barbara Streisand wasn't so good looking. Then I saw What's Up, Doc, and I fell in love with her.
What's Up, Doc?
Yeah.
Is my Barbara Streisand exception. What's Up, Doc is my favorite movie of all time. Period.
Yeah, I love that film. Yeah,
that is my one Barbara Streisand exception.
She's so gorgeous in that film.
Yes,
it's
that
incredible.
is absolutely incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a perfect film.
I think she's nice looking. Yeah,
She has an unusual look. She has an unusual look, and I'm not.
She's not conventionally pretty.
She would have been doing around this time. She would have been doing.
Yeah.
She would have been doing Yentl around this time. That was 83, 84.
Yentl, yeah, probably. I know. I know Dan Aykroyd was doing Ghostbusters when he had that starring part in Temple of Doom. He was doing Ghostbusters. I know that. But yeah, I mean, people just get upset over stupid things, don't they? These days, it's crazy.
So everyone in the chat and you guys, check it out. It does exist online. I've just checked it. That did actually happen.
Okay. But the thing is, though, wasn't Carrie Fisher having a thing with Harrison Ford at that moment in time?
Exactly. I think that was banging that moment. Yeah.
Really?
So banging that moment. Yeah. Good way of putting it.
I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think
that's carrying the whole Han Solo thing a little bit too far.
She was very young though when Empire Strikes Back, isn't it? So yeah.
And I mean, let's talk also about the villain of the piece in this film. I mean,
which one?
How do you? Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about the main Mularam. Let's talk about him. Yeah. How do you find him in the trilogy compared to the other villains? Do you rate him as like a good?
The thing with Molaram, right, is okay, right. So let me tell you a few things that I believe. Okay, right. So a lot of screenwriters these days in a lot of films do this stupid thing where they give you a backstory on so the reason why I give you a backstory is because they believe that you would be more connected to that person if they give you a backstory, like the hero that's grumpy, and then you have a backstory because his daughter got killed in a car crash or something. That's why he's grumpy, whatever. But 9 times out of 10, if you watch the 40s movies like Casablanca and stuff like that, they cast well. So that once you see that person, you realize what kind of a person that is. I'll give you an example. Casablanca had Laurie, what's his name?
Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre. Immediately when you see Peter Lorre, you knew he was a snake. Right. You knew that man was a snake, right? Because of casting, right?
Got that slimy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my point with Molaram is that you didn't need to know anything about him. What he did showed you the kind of person he was. And to me, that was all right. I didn't need to know anything about that guy. He pulls hearts out. He burns people. he worships freestones. That's all you need to know, mate.
He wears a ram's head with a little shrunken head in the middle.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's that much of a git at the end.
Yeah, he is.
He literally drops one of his own people to try and knock them off. So that's his level of bad.
He terrified the bejesus out of me, and I love him for it because that's exactly what a villain
Good
Yeah.
Should
casting.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's there without any of the real world trappings
Mm.
of the Nazis that you have in the bookend movies.
Yeah.
And I was watching that, I thought this is right out of like 40s Saturday morning serials. You would have a villain.
That's what it
like
was.
this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They did their job too well. It's Spielberg and Lucas. They did go out their way to make it like those 40 serials. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the 40 serials now are considered a problem if you watch them
Mhm.
now, you know.
Yeah.
So
For a
that's what I'm
modern
saying.
audience,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all credit to them. It's got to be difficult when you've had such brilliant villains from Raiders. And I know they deliberately went earlier, didn't they, to get away from the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to give him credit for that. Yeah, I think he's as iconic as oh God, what did we call him? Arnold. He's
Yeah.
just
Arnold.
Yeah.
he's you know, he's a fanatic. You know, he's going to do everything he can.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, he kidnaps children. He turns them into slaves. You know, he sacrifices his own
Exactly.
service. He will, and you know, he will stop at nothing
Mm.
to get these stones. You know, and if he's got these stones, you know, that's it. That
He even has the little
million.
he even has the little 1940s serial escape thing where he goes, and
Yeah.
then he sits down and
Yeah.
rolls
Yeah,
under
yeah.
the
Yeah,
collapsing
and he just
thing.
he's that evil cackling laugh as
Yeah.
well. I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Brilliant.
and again, you just you kind of glad that the crocodiles eat him. You don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Ian's,
yeah. Wow,
Ian-
yeah.
to Ian's point about the backstory, though, can you see like during that first scene after he does the sacrifice, then he goes back out, it
Yeah.
cuts to him and he's going back in, and it's like, oh, how was your day, honey? And he's there with a little house in the back going, oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
sacrifice,
Yeah.
another day, another sacrifice.
I
You know?
brought you home another skin
Yeah.
statue.
Yeah.
It is weird how they think of I gave this example on a live stream. If you watch both films, what is it, Taking the Pelham 1, 2, 3, if you watch
Yeah.
both films, John Travolta's character has a backstory about him being a failed whatever, and the same thing with Denzel Washington's character. If you watch the 1973 Taking the Pelham 1, 2, 3, Walter Matthau has no backstory.
One of my favorite,
nor does
favorite
Robert
movies
Shaw.
ever.
Yeah,
No.
nor does Robert
Oh.
Shaw.
And you
So
don't.
there you go. But
Not
you
just,
know who they are. You know who
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
are.
well, there's that little scene, you know, where he's kind of talking about he used to be a mercenary and stuff, and he used to make
Yeah.
all that money. But that was like
Yeah.
1 minute, and you're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Walter
Yeah.
Matthau's character, again, it's casting. Once you see Walter Matthau, you know what kind of a person they are.
Exactly.
You just know, right? You
Yeah.
just go with it. That's it. End of story.
It's really interesting that Marla, he doesn't actually speak a lot.
No, he
in
doesn't.
the film.
Yeah,
But
he
just,
doesn't.
You don't need.
It's the eyes that get
Yeah.
me, even as a
Yeah.
kid. It's like he's got the very sinister eyes, isn't he? As
Yes.
he walks closer
But-
towards you, and the smile.
Let's not
Brilliant.
forget they whipped kids in this film.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
They
did.
whipped kids,
Brutal.
man. Poor old Short Round got whipped.
Yeah,
You know,
he did.
it's like what?
And-
And Indiana Jones slaps him across the face at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say about that. We get to that scene where it goes dark, and it's don't swallow it. You know, the black blood or whatever it is, and it turns him dark. And you know, you've got Willie spits in his face, and it's proper spit.
Yeah.
You know, it's very method at that point.
I think at that moment in time, Harrison Ford did his back in, and so they had to shut down the production for a whole month. They flew him
Was
to
it during
hospital
the assassin scene in his room? Is that
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And then they flew him to a hospital in LA, and he had to convalesce. But in the meantime, they had Pat Roach. Was it Pat Roach as the big guy? And they had another stuntman to stand in for him when they were doing the fight sequences as well. They did as much as they could without Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford came back, and then the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, again, it's a lovely scene here about a Short Round, you know, where this guy that he absolutely idolizes is gone dark, gone bad, and he just can't believe it, you know, because he looks up to this guy, and like you say, when Indy slaps him, I remember as a kid going, "Oh, blimey, what's going to happen now?" You know, and I love that Short Round. He plays it so well as well, where he wants to burn him to try
You know,
and
there's a
stop
bit that's
him, and
cut
he's
out.
hesitating.
Yeah.
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 You know, there's a bit that was cut out, don't you?
No.
That they shot. So the question is, how did Short Round know by burning someone it would take them out of the trance? So there's a clip in the film that they didn't have in the film where he's trying to get out the chains, he's banging on the chains, and then one of the guards falls over and a torch falls on top of him, and he wakes from his sleep, and he's like, "Ugh," and then the other guys take him away. So that's how Short Round knew to get Indy out of.
They should have kept that in.
Well, I don't know why. Time, I think.
Time, probably.
Yeah.
And speaking of good child actors, of course, Ke Huy Quan is great. The young boy who was playing the Maharaja,
he was good.
when he was possessed, I mean, that kid looked like
Possessed.
an absolute just.
Yeah.
I mean, that rictus smile on his face. I mean, that kid just could sell that. I was just going, holy cow!
Oh yeah.
Wasn't he meant to have a bigger role in the film? I don't know why that didn't happen.
Also, another bit that was cut out of the film was so basically, why didn't they run out with the kids? Indiana Jones Short Round, and why didn't they just run out? Because all the kids were running out. Why didn't they just run out the kids? Why were they stuck there? So they had the scene in it where Indiana Jones had put this log in front. You know where they burnt the people.
Yeah,
that's the only way to escape out of things. So he put this log so all the kids can go over the log, and he made all the kids go over the log. And when Willie and him and Short Round was meant to go over it, broke. So they were stuck there, and that's why they couldn't go out the same way as the kids.
Yeah,
but they filmed that too, but they didn't put it in the film,
and
for some reason.
I also think about, when you talk about the paranormal side of it, I also like, you know, when you've got Indy in, you know, he's in the catacombs where they've given him the blood, and you see him fighting this possession at that point. I think that's really well done. I do like that element of it. But you know, Short Round again, you know, it's when he's doing his, what is it, kung fu and everything like that. That's a great scene watching it as a kid, and I love it now. It's just, you know, doing the roundhouse and all that, you know. But
I think that my only minor quibble is I wish Willie had something to do, because Short Round's fighting the Maharaja, Indy's fighting that massive guard, and Willie's just behind going. I just wish they'd given her. I mean, I know she's no Marion, I know, but I do feel like she was underdeveloped.
I mean, there are some. The film's not perfect, right? There are some really awful moments in there. The plane bit was awful. There are a lot of stupid bits in the film, but another thing that we should talk about is the groundbreaking at the time special effects they did for this film. Like, for instance, the mine cart chest was all done by moving the model inch by inch. Do you know what I mean? I just can't even wrap my head around that.
It's genius. And I mean, you know, when you look at it, you know, because you probably all remember, it was either Universal or I think in the US where they had the ride, didn't they? It was a big thing, wasn't it? It was Disneyland, was it? And that was massive. People I grew up
still
with,
do.
they would talk. Oh, do they? They were talking about they just wanted to go because they wanted to go on that ride. And
believe me, I haven't been to Disneyland in 20 years, but the couple of times that I did go on the Indiana Jones mine ride, you better be prepared to wait about an hour or an hour and a half in line to get on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that cart scene is just special. I love it from the first moment to the end of it. It's just a joy to watch.
They did a thing called Go Motion, which is the animation that they did on the walkers. So the difference between Ray Harryhausen's animation and Go Motion is Go Motion, every time they move something, they add blur. So it's like, say, if you move your hand up and down, if you paused it, you would see a blur between my fingers. But if you look at Ray Harryhausen's animation, when they're moving, there is no blur because obviously it's moved one. So they added I don't know how they did it, but they added the blur to make sure it looked right. And also they had a 35mm still camera. You know, when it's from their point of view and they're going down and up and down. they literally had a 35mm camera stuck on wheels, and they moved it inch by inch.
Brilliant.
What the hell? One picture. It's like, what the
Whereas now
Genius.
you just know that it would just be a car on a green screen, and it
Yeah.
just
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
have the same
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
You're right, and that's part of the magic of
It is,
watching
it's
these
fantastic.
films, because you're right now, and I've said this before on other streams, but it's literally these days that magic has gone from me a bit, because these geniuses did things like this. Whereas you're right, Sarah, now it would just be right, well, we'll get someone in the the computer lab to put out some special effect, behind the scenes
Yeah.
digital drawing or something, and it just doesn't feel the same for me. It was part of the magic of going to the cinema to see these great things. But I mean, the cart
That
ride,
bridge, though.
yeah.
There's no way you'd survive that. If it's cut in half and you flew into that
Oh,
mountain, you'd be
God.
splat. It's
I
like,
love that. Can we all talk about that? The probability of
Oh, when it
that-
hops.
in
Yeah.
Indiana Jones still having his foot. after shooting it.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah. Oh,
I
After
love
that,
it.
after that whole
I love
sequence
it,
was
though.
after that whole sequence was over, though, I was thinking, wait a minute. How I thought I started thinking about the mechanics within the fiction
Yeah.
of the film. Why would they build what must be miles of minecart tracks? They would have had
Yeah,
to
they
tunnel
didn't.
through the entire mountain.
Yeah.
It's like,
God,
and
yeah.
nobody's even working in those sections. I thought
Yeah.
that would have taken decades to do that. It's like, why would
But you know what, right? It's the enjoyment. I remember
course.
being in a
Yeah, yeah.
cinema. I don't
Yes.
know. I can't remember what time it was, or how many versions that I saw of it. I remember when it was driving and Indiana Jones said "duck," and he put their heads down and the
Yeah.
cart flew off,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it landed perfectly on the other side.
Yeah.
I remember the audience just ripping with laughter
Yeah,
right across the board.
yeah.
You know,
It's
that's how
not designed
enjoyable
to
it
be
was.
logically thought about. It's just
Yeah.
designed to be enjoyed.
Well,
Silly.
yeah, that's it.
It's
It's
funny.
one of them moments. My favorite bit is literally just as that ends, and you get that wonderful transition, and it's just Harrison Ford going, "Water,
Yeah.
water."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
feet on fire.
But that bridge,
Oh.
though, that bridge is, what is it? Hang on, lady, we're going for a ride.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
I've got to-
Yeah.
Come on.
I've been
He
across
ain't
the
nuts.
bridge.
She crazy.
I've been on the bridge.
Does anybody
and
know
that was
exactly?
reenacted that scene.
Does anybody know? I'm curious because it wasn't in the subtitles. Does anybody know exactly what it is that Indy says to Short Round on the bridge to get him to
Well, basically,
I think
saying,
ready?
I'm going to
that
cut
they're
the
gonna
bridge.
go-
Hold on.
yeah.
Basically, that's basically what you were saying. And he was like, okay.
And I love
Okay.
I love the way they set it up as well, because you got Short Round starts, he's bouncing on the
Yeah,
plank,
yeah,
isn't he?
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
goes through.
Yeah.
And I also love as well, you talk about comedy moments, I also love in this where Indy does the charge with the sword straight
yeah,
at the
yeah.
camera, and he's and then there's like thousands of them chasing him, which is
But
great. I love
that's
it.
been ripped off so many times. I mean, the last film I
Yeah.
saw that in was, I think it was the last Mad Max film did it, didn't
Yeah.
they? I think it
Was
the third
that
Yeah.
was that Ian might know? Was that designed to be, kind of a parallel to the scene in Star Wars where Chewie and Han run into the room, and then all of a sudden all the stormtroopers are there, then they have to run
No,
back
but
out?
so in the original scene there was only 4 stormtroopers, and in the remake Star Wars they added like hundreds
Okay.
of them.
Oh,
So
okay.
in the Temple of Doom, the reason why that's worked so well is because Spielberg actually makes Harrison Ford run up to the screen, then
Yeah.
stop, and then he runs off, and you're wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And then the joke is hundreds
Yeah.
of them chasing him. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's,
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. And I do love, and I still laugh to this day. It takes me back to being a kid. But I love
Yeah.
it when he cuts the bridge and you see them all start falling down to the alligators, and it's you hear them all screaming, and you got the little characters going down.
yeah.
You got
Yeah.
the cloth of them being chewed up and rolled over in the
And
river.
it keeps
which is
cutting to
great.
that same shot of the one alligator rolling
Yeah.
around about
Yeah.
4 times.
Listen,
Yeah.
Gary, that was his big moment. Don't
Yes.
spoil it for that alligator.
It's like my belly is my best side, so that's
Yeah.
why they kept
Oh, good.
crocodile kept rolling
well,
around.
they were real. I think they were real crocodiles, weren't they?
Yeah.
Shot, so.
Well, I thought,
Mm.
as a kid, I thought watching it for the first time, I thought they were like giant alligators. you know, because
Right,
when
right.
they film, but they're not, but they're like
Yeah.
they're like regular, normal sized alligators. But I do love it when they're climbing up the cliff as well, you know, the rock face, and they're trying to get to safety, and just, you know, that scene as well, like you say, you know, Short Round and Willie, basically they shouldn't have shouted to Indy,
No.
cover your heart, because that gave
Oh,
Muller
yeah,
an
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
But
But you can see the harness holding on. If you look closely, you can see the harness
Yeah.
holding on to Harrison Ford. That's
Yeah.
connected to the bridge. Another scene that I really love, right, when I first saw it, was the bit where the army turns up and he says, "Hold your fire," and then it's complete silence, and then you just see the edge of the cliff, and you
Yeah.
see Harrison Ford come up, like, after
The
everything, and then
stone.
he puts the stone there, and everybody starts laughing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And nobody helps him. They just sit and laugh at him
exactly.
and
Is
Yeah.
laughing. Yeah.
climb up.
The one part during that scene that almost had me like kind of yelling at the TV was like after as Willie and Shorty are kind of climbing, and they're almost up near the top, and they just hang there watching this fight between Muller and I'm going, why aren't you still climbing? Get off the bridge.
Yeah.
They're just kind of hanging there watching this whole big fight go on. I thought it's like, you know, let's keep going. Let's keep
Yeah.
But that's what he says to her, doesn't he? It's
but they hang there.
says, "Let's go."
Like they hang there for about like 10 minutes.
I
They were
am
concerned about Indy, weren't they?
I did like the fact that when somebody on the bridge falls, they knock down whoever they land on. I thought that was
Yeah.
it's quite cool, yeah.
So much happens. Again, like you were saying here, you don't realize how well directed it is.
Yeah.
It's
Look, right, you know, it's only a small scene, but there's so much packed in.
Yeah.
I always like the how Indy defeats him when he starts evoking Shiva and it burns through the bag. It's like, oh, you're in deep shit now, aren't you?
Yeah. It's a really good do you know what, everything has been arranged to evoke an emotion from you as a viewer, from the bit where he's trying to get the heart to the snapping of the bridge, to the crocodiles, to everything right across the board. It does lull in the middle, I've got to admit, Temple of Doom. But once it starts going again, it's just a fun ride all the way through till the end. That's and you can't ask for more than that in an action adventure movie. That's what you go to see.
It's exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, at the time as well, which goes with this, they released Temple of Doom arcade game as well. Me as a kid, I used to play that all the time, and it had, you know, the cart chase in it and everything. So, you know,
so did it follow everything that was in the film?
No, basically the main part of the game was you were inside the catacombs, you know, and you're fighting the minions, and then you get in the cart and you're being chased in the cart, and you know, there was a bit of license on, they adapted it quite a bit, but it was good 80s arcade game fun. But another thing I love about that climbing the ladder is where he gets all the arrows fired at him, and they all miss, and then he's like, oh.
I think he says, "Jeez."
That's it. Yeah, got to go faster.
It's really a lot of fun, and just right across the board, it's just like a huge ride all the way across from the beginning sequence. Again, it lulls in the middle, but that just it needs to take time to rev up again. And once it revs up again, it's just fun all the way through. It's very dark, but I think that the entertainment value above it is what makes it acceptable.
It is dark, but there is we've all talked about it. There is a lot of comedy.
There is,
to balance it.
all
from all the the principal cast. I forget how good Harrison Ford is at doing comedies. You think of him as being like this straight-laced actor, but he's got fantastic timing. Short Round. Even Cape Capshot. A lot of the comedy comes from her, which again I think is part of why she was cast. That was.
There was that one scene where he said something that the audience was shocked but laughed out uncontrollably. Is when he said, "Oh shit." You never
Yeah.
thought Indiana Jones would say that,
That's
but
right.
he literally said, "Oh shit!" and everybody in the cinema laughed their head off. And then they stopped laughing, realizing, did he just swear there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah, it was quite
I
fun.
like, and like you were saying at the beginning, Ian, I like the ending of it where in this one he's got the Shankara stone,
Yeah.
so he can
Yeah.
get his fortune and glory
Glory.
if he wanted to, but he doesn't. He gives
Yeah.
it back to the village.
Yeah.
And then they have that nice shot at the end where all of the kids suddenly run after
That was
from
good.
behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the
Totally.
parents, the mothers all like run into them. That's a nice ending bit. But I am gonna say at the ending, when Indy lassos Willie, that's
yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
hurt.
Well, yeah, well, I wanted to
Yeah.
get your opinion on it. Is this a very good way of attracting the opposite?
She was
sex?
attracted to him anyway. Do you know what I mean? She fancied him.
That's how male-female relations should work, Sarah.
Yeah. He's not walking for a few days after that lasso.
I've always wanted to be lassoed by Harrison Ford. I'm sorry.
If any of us on this panel had a whip, we'd probably do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But it's very much a male boy's own adventure. I mean, from the actual idea that Harrison Ford was all buff, you know, the muscles and everything, you know, the torn shirts, you know what I mean? The what is it? The William Shatner look. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, right across the board. It was just it was a boy's own adventure. It didn't. I mean, women liked it, of course. They liked it for different reasons because of Harrison Ford, good looking fella. That kind of thing. His hat never fell off either, which was quite cool. So you know, I think it does what it says on the tin, right?
I mean, you could see a lot of 30s and 40s movies ending like that. I mean, I could see a 30s Zorro movie ending like that, you know, where he kind of brings in the woman or whatever. It's just kind of I chalked it up to being in the vein of those old times.
Well, it's homage to that era, and I think they pulled it off exceptionally well. And if people are going to look for problems, that's because they. Yeah. Well, I'm going to say it. They're too stupid. You know, you've got to look at how it was intended to be, and not from a modern perspective. You got, you know, if you're just going to look and tear things up and take all the joy out of it, then maybe watching films isn't, the hobby for you.
Yeah.
The best thing was Short Round sitting on the elephant, closing his eyes when they.
I love that.
Spray in the water.
Thing to do. And that elephant. We've not talked about the elephant.
I mean,
MVP of that film. That elephant.
Elephants don't like having perfume put on them, do they?
No, they don't.
How much did Kate Capshaw hate that elephant during the scene where it kept bumping her as she was having to do her lines during
the snake?
Then
wasn't it?
And again, I'm going to mention as well, that the soundtrack for this film I still love, and I think
I've got it somewhere.
And I know you put up a post the other day, Ian, that kind of captures kind of how I feel about things. But I grew up getting the cassette tapes, then the CDs of the soundtracks for the movies, because, like you said the other day, it would be a while before I'd be able to, my parents would be able to get me the VHS when that came out. So the soundtrack, I would have that on in my bedroom, and it literally. I would close my eyes and I knew straight away which scene that was. And it just took me back to it. And I don't know if, youngsters these days get the same feel for a soundtrack or respect it enough as I did growing up, because, the soundtrack is just as important, isn't it? And, these films have superb soundtracks to them. So, it's just beautiful stuff. And I mean, we'll go round now and we'll give it a ranking out of 10. So
I thought you said something else. I thought you said something different, man.
Yeah. This is now going out at 2 a.m. Everybody.
I blame Ian. Ian's just dragging the quality of this show down.
Yeah.
How many monkey brains would you give this out of 10? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so Ian, what would you rank this out of 10?
I really enjoyed this. What would I give it? I'd probably give it an 8, probably out of 10. No film was perfect. I keep telling people when, like, I remember I gave E.T.'s, which E.T.'s my favorite film of all time. I gave that I think a 9, and people are like, if it's your favorite film of all time, how come you haven't given it a 10? Because if you give it a 10, that means the film was perfect all the way through. Absolute freaking perfect. And there is no such film that is perfect, let me tell you. So 8 I think 8 is a good number to give Temple of Doom, purely for enjoyment. I think.
And Gary?
I have actually raised my estimation in the course of this stream because of Ian's reinterpretation about
what you're saying
about Indy's evolution.
That's what we're really talking
about Indy's evolution, which actually really I see this as in a whole new light now. Something I'd never considered, which was kind of like eye-opening for me, the way that Ian was kind of reinterpreting it. So I think, wow, okay. I'm actually going to go with 8 as well. It would have been lower when this stream started, but now I'm saying it's a solid, because if that was the intent, then they did it really well. And, as a movie that's just pure entertainment, Raiders had the kind of highs and lows, the peaks and valleys as the story developed and everything. But this is basically just kind of one long, motion stream of energy, from the beginning to the end, except for the little kind of travelogue part in the middle, as Ian said. So, and on that level, it absolutely succeeds. And so, solid 8.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, Gary is being held under duress. Actually, you see that door behind Ian?
Yeah.
Gary's
That's where he is.
That's where he is.
That's where some of my family members are being held until I give this film.
Where's that button?
A solid
There's some hearts and fingers and stuff in there. That's what it is.
You can't see the electrical cables right
That's
now.
right. Yeah.
No, but I'm serious. I mean, and this has never happened where I've heard something that was that just made me totally revise my opinion, about a movie.
I think the thing is that when you get older, I don't know how old you guys were, but I was like in my teens when I saw this film. I think when you get older and you get more mature and you watch a film again that you didn't like, you see a lot more than you did when you were a kid. So that's the thing with films. That's one of the things I love about movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sarah?
Yeah. Oh, it's easily a 9 for me.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess I am so fond of this film. I know its flaws as much as anybody, but I've got that connection from when I was a kid. Like as John was saying, the music. I hear that music.
Yeah.
I'm just transported back to being a kid. It's so personal to me, and it worked. I think the beginning's strong. Yes, it does sag a little bit in the middle, but I don't actually mind that. It's nice to kind of like pause and breathe, because the final act is just action. It works fine. Do you know, I think I would actually have given it, a 9.5 or maybe even a 10. So did I give Raiders a 10? I think I might have done.
I think you did, yeah.
Just just little things like, like Willie was a bit, underdeveloped. I think the themes are fine. I think they were right to go in the direction they did. We can make arguments. Maybe it was too dark. Empire Strikes Back was a lot darker, and look how that turned out. And I think to get away from the shadow of the Nazis, it's almost a shame in a way that they felt like they had to go back to the Nazis for the third film. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way now, but
I love the Nazis with it.
I mean, Spielberg said, "Oh, I've got to apologize for." I remember at the time as well, like a year later, he went on screen. He was talking, "Oh, I've got to apologize for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom," and I was screaming at TV, going, "You didn't have to apologize to me, mate. I loved it."
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly
Like-
right. Yeah,
And,
You know,
and the number, because am I right in thinking this was the highest grossing film of that year?
I don't know.
I'm
I
sure
think
it
you're
was one
right.
of
I
them.
think it was because there was such a big anticipation to see this film.
It was
because of
either that
Raiders.
or Ghostbusters.
Mm.
Yeah, and so for me, I would say I'm same as you say. I'll give it a 9 because this is a film, and again, all three of them are films where it's my happy place. Where if I put them on, the phone goes on silent. I literally, I'm literally in my element just watching these films again. And this film, I never get tired of it. I'm so happy with it. It's a joy to watch again and again. So it's a 9 from me.
And we
I
have
will-
to mention the snake that's been sitting behind Sarah for this entire.
I was going to recreate that scene. I said it out. It's. I've got to have the snake whenever we do these Indiana Jones.
Right.
and I will say as well, just to add on to it, the Indiana Jones film that they never made and they should have made. It was a phenomenal game on the Amiga, and it was Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Yeah.
And it was such a good game, and that was LucasArts at the time, and I'm amazed they never went to develop that.
They did that as a comic miniseries for Dark Horse.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I might have to check that one out then, because the game is superb. So it's a happy thing for me.
And didn't they just come out with a new Indiana Jones game, like just recently?
Oh, it's coming soon on the Xbox. Yeah, but
it's going to be bad though.
I'm very skeptical about it because already there's a sidekick that I think is going to take a lot of the main elements of the game. So the one time in my life where I want a good indie game, I'm not going to get it. But I mean that's it for this week. I will say we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be doing Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yay!
So join us for that. I'm going to be in my happy zone with it. Sarah clearly is going to be in a happy zone.
I don't even know if I'm invited. I've just invited myself.
Gary, you can never tell.
I love Last Crusade.
So do I.
I love Last Crusade.
So there you go. So you already know we love it, and we're going to love talking about it. So come and join us. And Ian, look what Ian's got there. Look, you got to show that, mate. That's his original
VHS.
Wow!
Look at that.
All of them, basically. So I'd never throw this away.
Of course not. Yeah,
and that's apart. But just look at the detail on that box art.
Yeah, I know.
It's just great.
It's falling apart now. I dare not.
And I noticed there's only three VHSs in this. Oh, there is 4.
There's 4. Yeah, the making of.
Oh, I thought
because I've got the same box set, but it's the DVD one, so it's the but it's still
I've got the DVD as
image,
well.
Yeah.
Last Crusade.
What Ian hasn't told you is in that set, what he's done is he snuck the latest Disney one into that set.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No way. No way.
That's it for today. But thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.